Bayou Times Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
In case you haven't heard, it's playoff season here in the area. And really, in case you've had your head buried in the sand, Vanderbilt is traveling to Edie White for a Friday night showdown to advance in the state playoffs. Coach Brian Wallace is with us, Vanderbilt Catholic coach. Stan Gravois with us, sports extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
Good to see both of you guys.
Appreciate it.
And Coach, just, we can talk about this a lot. We could sugarcoat it a lot. But for older people, when the rivalry was, I don't know how it is now with Facebook and YouTube and everybody talks to each other. Back in the day, we didn't talk to Edie White people. They didn't talk to us. But then we got to college and we realized these guys aren't that bad. They're human. Yeah, so everybody became friends.
Right,
and it's been a lot of them been great friendships over the years. But first of all, congratulations. What a great season. And the seed you planted looks like it's starting to take shape. And the program has made leaps and bounds.
Yeah, obviously getting there in February and just trying to instill the culture with our coach and staff. It takes time, especially at the high school level. You have so many multi-sport athletes, which we promote. We want guys to be able to play, basketball and baseball and track and soccer. But so we were really in the foundational stages is in the summer. So usually I have them from January to July. Now you got them June, July, early August. Really got to build that work ethic in the weight room. So really think that really middle of the season, late of the season, the guys really started to gel, and I think we're really finding our identity and getting comfortable with that. So it's been good to see, and obviously playing good late in the year. We tell the guys people remember the teams in November. And we want to be playing meaningful games in November, and we have a great opportunity Friday night to do so.
And I'm going to let Stan jump in a second. I'm sure he's loaded up for bear. But, when you talk about Kyle Lassane, we've watched his program quite a bit. He's done an amazing job of building his program. And you're building your program. Two very good football teams are going to meet on Friday. Only one advances. But how do you hype the game? I think Stan alluded to this a little while ago, but how do you get your team in a room and go, okay, guys, don't get too excited because we may make mistakes, but we want you to play with intensity. Isn't that a balancing act as a coach to try to don't get too crazy, but we want you to be crazy?
Yeah, it's always, I always say this. I rather have to pull the reins back than poke them with a sharp stick. Mm-hmm. So, we want to have controlled emotions. It's going to be an emotional game, obviously, because it's a playoff game, and it's obviously a little bit added because it's a rival. But that's what's fun. That's what's about, healthy competition, healthy rivalries in this setting. It's what all the guys want to do. The stage is set. So we don't have to do a job as a coach and staff really hyping them up because they're going to do that themselves. Our job is to keep them focused and controlled as best as we can. And obviously we got our captains and our leaders that are able to do that, who have been there before. And that's how we have to play. But obviously we want the energy, you know what I mean? So, we want them playing hard, playing fast.
Listen, I'm going to echo what Martin said. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful season. Has it come, I don't want to say as easily because it's never easy. But I'll go back. Are you a goal setter? Like at the beginning of the year, was there goals? And if there was, to this point, do you think you've met those goals?
Yeah, when we that was one of our fall camp deals. We sat down with the team and had all the kids talk about what they wanted individually and where they wanted to see the program go. Because, I tell the kids, they're owners in this program. Everyone has ownership. And so I wanted to see what their goals are and see if they aligned with our coaching staffs. And a lot of them, and a lot of the guys, just like every team, they have a goal of winning a state championship. And so obviously we're on our way. We wanted to be district champs. We didn't meet that goal. We finished third in district behind Letcher and Edie White, which are two very well-established programs. But I think, sitting where we're at 9-2, we talk about it. The guys are pleased with where we're at, but hungry for more. Mm-hmm. So obviously it was tough to get where we are, but we still got some road to go.
Mm-hmm. Coach, you were a former linebacker. You were a captain, too. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking for leadership skills, obviously you had them. But I see a bunch of guys on that team that are accountable. Your upperclassmen, they don't mind taking a little heat and criticism from the coaches. I know y'all temper it down when you get to the younger players because they haven't earned the right to be told where to be yet. But it seems like they take that very well. So that's what makes a leader. Really got to take the criticism to go with the accolades.
Right. And I think it all comes down to relationships. And when we got our feet on campus is we tried to build healthy relationships with these players, with these student athletes, to let them know we care about them as people, not just football players. And I think when there's that type of trust and that type of love, then you can coach them hard because they know as a player, they know where we're coming from as a coach, that I care for them, that I want to see them be better. And it's not just a berating. And so we can coach them hard. And when you can coach your best players the hardest, and they respond, well, then the younger guys see that, and they know that they can be coached just the same. And so that's what we've tried to develop, the type of program and the type of culture. And I think it's really taken, the seniors on our team, we got 19 of them, have really taken grasp of that, and they're phenomenal.
Let's do this. We'll take our first break. We'll come back 2 more segments with the head coach of Vanderbilt Catholic High School. And look, I don't know what you're doing on Friday night, but you ought to make a little trip to Thibodeau. Spend a couple of bucks, get in the stadium, just be there because I'm sure it's going to be a great football game. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we are back with the coach of Vanderbilt Catholic High School, Ryan Wallace, Stan Gravos here. By the way, for you Edie White fans, Kyle Lasang will have his own 30 minutes here on HTV, so equal time. We always like to, we sort of spearing it on a little bit. But, and that's my point. As a coach, isn't this where you want to be?
Absolutely.
Where the game really means something. I mean, who you're playing, your number one rival. I still get goosebumps from back when I played the rivalry. It was so intense, and that's why I don't know if it's that way now, but I sense from watching y'all play Edie White when I made that game, it's still pretty intense, And let me ask you this: as a coach, superstitious. I saw you with Bo and Blake, your kids before the game, and your daughter was asking you for some bubble gum, and you said, well, it's something I do every game.
Yeah.
Are you superstitious?
Not necessarily, just a little stitious. No, but, I'm a creature of habit in terms of routine, but not necessarily like superstitious in terms of wearing the same, sock or not washing socks or shoes, you know what I mean? But I have a routine, but I wouldn't necessarily say superstitious. To me, I'm always a believer that if something like that is the reason for a loss, then I got bigger problems, you know what I mean? So
yeah, before I turn it over to Stan, Coach Morvaughn, Cam Morvaughn, who was the district attorney in Lafourche, was my head coach my senior year at Vanderbilt. Joe Fake, who was Mr. Edie White, was my defensive back coach at Vanderbilt. And all the players, we were wondering, how the heck did these guys come from Thibodeau to a rival school to coach? Well, they let us believe that they couldn't stand Edie White. They didn't like to go to school there. They couldn't stand the place. They wanted to move out of Thibodeau. We bought it. A few weeks later, we see them all eating out together. The coaches of Edie White and the coaches of Vanderbilt, we all looked at each other and said, we've been had. So things you do as a coach, you'll look for every angle, won't you?
Absolutely. That's part of, it's part of being a coach and part of the formidable age of these young men that we coach is, they really hang on to every word you say. And so just making them believe. And you know, sometimes you got to, you know, just not tell them the whole truth. You know what I mean? But you got to paint a different perspective for them. But that's funny, yeah.
Yeah. Stan?
You know, to Martin's point, for teams in the Bayou region in the past, Coach, to get to the third round was an achievement in itself. For your program and for E.D. White's program to be at such a level, to get in the third round and actually have to play each other, I don't think a lot of people realize this. These two schools have met in the playoffs before, but it's few and far between where we have Bayou region teams that play each other in the playoffs, much less in the third round. So kudos for that. Obviously, that's big.
Yes.
Listen, you play a Hannon team, you're favored over Hannon, but sometimes that could be a little tricky because you got to get your kids believing, but you want them to still be in the moment, so to speak. How do you feel about the Hannon game? I know it was a relatively easy win, quite honestly. Are you healthy? How did that go for you?
Well, you know, it was interesting because I thought we came out, to be honest, a little flat. And, you know, so as I look back and I took some notes, and again, you know, we practiced, I thought, pretty hard during the bye week. And, you know, we kept trying to, you talk about sell the kids, is, you know, we tell them, you know, Hannon's 1-9. So, you know, obviously that's what they're going to look at. But Hannon was a good team. They had good players, you know, and so I don't know if it was some of the players looking at some of their stats or, you know, just from the bye week. But I thought we came out a little rusty, so to say, but I thought we caught rhythm, and you know, so it was nice to see, and the guys got into the game, came out of the game healthy, but we executed like we needed to in the first half. And you know, did I expect to have a running clock in the first half? No. I did not expect to be up 42-0. I mean, but that's a testament to our guys playing hard once they started clicking on all cylinders. But it was nice to see that we could get the ball moving and stop them on defense.
Look at this run right here. So I remember running down the sideline because I was doing the play-by-play from the sidelines. Of course, I wasn't keeping up with
not many can look forward. He's good.
But let me ask you, they had a good quarterback. The quarterback was athletic. And I saw he kept trying to turn the corner. He kept trying to get outside of y'all. And on a couple of times he did, but real quick, y'all adjusted. And it's almost like, especially like with a guy like Boudreaux on the end who's so intense trying to get to the quarterback. Do you find sometimes you got to temper him a little bit and say, stay in your lane, force him inside, you got help?
That was really the plan all week with 11. Having faced quarterbacks like him before, it's funny because the coaches were messing with me because we played Cam Ward when he was at Incarnate Word. And I said that this kid in the pocket reminded me of Cam Ward. And so they were giving me a hard time all week, but on film, that's what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And so we really worked hard on our pass rush lanes, on, you know, slowing them down a little bit, like you're saying, because we had to keep them in the pocket, inside and in front of us. And then we had a plan with our backers to spy and pull them up. So I thought it worked well. But I tell you, 11, I thought a lot of him on film. But a testament to our coaching staff and our players, I thought they did a really good job containing them.
Yeah, I said it. We'll take a break and I'll let Stan come back and ask you a couple. But I said it at the game. I would suspect that quarterback for them was a multi-sport athlete because he looked it. I mean, if he'd have had some, your offensive line and defensive line, of course, was much bigger and all, but size doesn't mean everything. Just well coached and a lot bigger. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have more with Coach Brian Wallace, Vanderbilt Catholic High School coach, head football coach, and they're on their way to play E.D. White on Friday. We'll be right back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
All right, we are back with Coach Brian Wallace, Martin Falls with Stan Gravois, talking about the Vanderbilt E.D. White game, and it's just good for the area, good for Houma, good for Thibodeau, good for everybody. I love to see it, and I'm going to let Stan ask you a few questions, but I got to think, you being a defensive guy, and I'm watching you during the game. I love to watch coaches during the game. Is offense a big thing to you, or are you still setting that defensive mode?
Well, that's something that as a first-year head coach, I'm trying to get more. Early in the season, with the offense, I was in the huddle with the defense, and the offense was going on. And then they'd be on the headset, Coach, can we get this? Can we get timeout? I said, oh man, I got to get back over there, So, and that's just, I had to get away from that because our defensive coordinator has done a phenomenal job. It's just in my blood. So I've tried to be more of a head coaching mode and be more aware of just game situations and stuff like that. But I still catch myself gravitating toward the defense a whole lot more.
All right, Stan.
What's a week like? I mean, because listen, it's a blessing that you get to practice during Thanksgiving, but it's probably a challenge too, right?
Yeah, and because my deal is dealing with the high school kids is I still want them to be kids at the same time, because obviously the starters and the guys who are playing, it's very impactful this week. And it's tough to motivate some of those scout team guys, and because I've been there before. And they line up, get scout team, they don't get rewarded. So, I'm trying to, we got to get our time in. So like this morning, we're taking as normal in the week. We lift and watch film, and we got off the practice field about 11:45. But trying to get them breakfast and just some things to keep them happy, keep them engaged. Some of those other guys and make it fun. I told them it's a week to give thanks. Be thankful that we're playing. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving. Be thankful for the family we have. So, but we're trying to get them in the morning so they have the rest of the afternoon to. I got hunters and fishermen on the team, so they can go be Cajuns.
But didn't it help? Because I remember when we were winning our senior year and we blew out a couple of teams, the scout team, which you talk about, and the younger guys got into play. And at school, that entire week, they were walking around like they could get any date they wanted in school. And it invigorates the whole team, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And luckily, we were able to do that in the second half this last week. So, and that was my fault being unprepared. Thinking a second round playoff game, we wouldn't have that opportunity. But we had a lot of, freshmen, sophomores who got in the game. But my message was to them some of them weren't prepared for that moment. And I said, hey man, you gotta prepare for the moment. If you wait for that moment to prepare, it's going to pass you by. So, but it gave them a little bit more life. They got to get in. Parents saw them, so they were fired up. So, but we got a great group of young men. So we're really excited about that.
2 weeks ago, it was only a little bit over 2 weeks ago, you were playing this same E.D. White team. And it's just so sort of weird that the circumstances are so different. You're going to be playing in a different site. It goes from natural sod, which way your field is beautiful, but it was a rainy day that day. It's different. It's still the same because obviously it's still the same kids. How are y'all approaching it? Do you look at that game and say, okay, that's in the garbage can, we move forward? How do you sort of take the good and the bad from that game?
Well, I think, after every game when we evaluate it, we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, we got to confront and correct our issues that we had in that game because we made mistakes. And that's why we lost the game. It was, and I have to do a better job. It starts with me preparing the guys and putting us in situations Monday through Thursday so we're prepared for that Friday night. So as a head coach and as our coaching staff, we learned and evaluated. And because I told defensively, I told our staff after the game, there's some things we need to correct. We made our notes after right after the game. I said, because we'll see them at another point next year too. They're in district. Just didn't know it'd be 3 weeks later. So we have some adjustments, but it's going to come down. I told the players it's going to be the same. It's going to come down to them making plays. There's never going to be a perfect call. There's never going to be a perfect opportunity. You just have to make plays. Do your job as simple as it sounds, but whoever does the simple things better, that's going to be probably who wins this game.
I do have one interesting, this was brought up this morning. Obviously, you both use the same association for your officials. How does this work for this playoff game?
So in the playoffs, we get from out of the area. So I know like last week we had a Lafayette crew at the playoffs. So I believe this week it's a New Orleans crew. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be someone from out of
But
there.
no one who has seen you guys and E.D. White weekend.
Not that I would know of, no. Unless they played it. I know because E.D. White played the other teams at home like the
Just real quick and close. We've got a couple of minutes left. E.D. Wright runs a methodical approach, but a Kyle Lasang team will be prepared. They'll make few mistakes. They will run it, and run it and run it. They have a few twists. I don't want to say Kyle wears the black shoes and they're like, he's a good coach. He's methodical, stresses a lot of the same things that you're stressing now. So I think you alluded to it. It's going to take your A game with a few mistakes. And I really believe this game comes down to the fewest mistakes, walks away.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And last time we made more mistakes, with their offense, they're going to make us play assignment football. They're going to make us tackle the dive, who has a quarterback, who has a pitch, who has a dive. They're going to make our eyes have to be in the right spot for 48 minutes. Last time we were probably in 45 minutes or 45 of the 50 plays. It's got to be for all 50. And then offensively, we can't miss a block. We got to take our right footwork. We can't, if it's 3-step drop, the ball's got to be out. Whatever it is, we have to do our job, and we have to execute. You know what I mean? And we're going to have to make some tough plays. We're going to have to break tackles that maybe we wouldn't have before. It's all those things are going to add up into games like this. And, special teams, we got to win field position. That's going to be a big thing, especially with their type of offense, and they're a ball control offense. So we're going to have to win the field position battle and take advantage of every opportunity when we have the ball.
Coach, good seeing you again. Congratulations. It'll be an electric scene in Thibodaux on Friday night. Stan, thank you so much, too. We appreciate your expertise. And, Coach, we know you have a busy week. And happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same
on
to
this
you.
week, and look forward to seeing everybody on Friday.
Appreciate it. Same here. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll take a short break. Don't forget, we will have Kyle Lasang on. He'll be in another show. So if you're surfing Facebook and YouTube, you'll see everybody. We have Covenant Christian coming in, too. So everybody gets a shot. We'll be back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.